Okay, I think we're live. All right, you guys have a copy of the policy. And Will, what were your thoughts of changing or correcting or discussing on here?
Yeah, so if you go to section 3, termination of live stream and corrections, the second bullet, we'll start there. I thought this was an interesting concept. Numerous cities use the same live stream policy that we do, including the village of Spring Lake. What I thought was interesting was that at the second bullet there, the city manager and or mayor chair have the discretion and authority during a meeting to correct inaccuracies and or direct the termination or interruption of live streaming if they believe it is advisable to do so at their sole discretion. So it's that at their sole discretion that I have an issue with, and I'm a little concerned because every other municipality or multiple municipalities who utilize this same verbiage in place of where it says at sole discretion, they all have the identical verbiage, and that's such discretion will only be given in exceptional circumstances where the content of debate is considered misleading, defamatory, or potentially inappropriate to be published. So I'm trying to understand why we would move away from that.
You have a comment, Brooke, on that?
If you're gonna have the decision by a council, the city manager or the mayor, then it has to be at their sole discretion, because otherwise, how do you determine what it is? I mean, you're gonna open yourself up to litigation. So either you take it out and you don't have it in there, you don't have the ability to correct or terminate, or you leave it up to their discretion. Otherwise, they make this determination, then somebody sues them and says you didn't have the authority to do this because it wasn't inappropriate, it wasn't vulgar, it wasn't defamatory. So my opinion on it is either make it at their sole discretion so that it is their sole discretion, or if you don't like it, then have it removed so that it's just out there. And the recourse for that is if somebody does make a defamatory statement, somebody does something illegal, there's civil and criminal remedies for that, and it's not removing it from the internet. If it's on there in video and somebody's defamed a council member has the ability to deal with that in civil court if they want to, and maybe they have a judge order that it be taken down, and it's not left to the discretion of city manager or the mayor.
So removing that paragraph altogether doesn't put the city or council at risk?
At risk, I guess. At risk for what?
Like
a
lawsuit or anything, right? Because we're not stopping it.
You're not stopping
Right.
it. I mean, it's out there, and if it's out there and it's defamatory or it's something that somebody, whether the comment is made about a city council member or another citizen, if that is out there and there's an issue with it, we have ways to remedy that in our legal system. I don't know if leaving it vague. In my opinion, it's vague what can happen if you say you can only do it if it's this, and it's not at the sole discretion of somebody. If it's not at the sole discretion of somebody, then you have the opportunity to create a lot of dissent and argument about what is vulgar, what is not vulgar. I mean, what you might feel is vulgar might not be the same as what Tim feels is vulgar, or what Regina feels is vulgar. It's very gray. This makes it more black and white. But if in my opinion, it's either one or the other. You either don't have it or you have it absolute.
What about having a vote as opposed to the sole discretion of?
I still think you open yourself up to somebody saying, well, that's not vulgar. I don't agree with you. And now, do I believe this is a violation, of First Amendment rights to take down something from a live stream? I don't think so, because you're not restricting or punishing the person for the comments that they're making. However, I believe that if you have it out there, it is what it is. It was said what was said. And if people have the record out there, videoed, online, archived for what they're saying, it might keep people from saying vulgar and discriminate and defamatory statements. It might reduce that level of comments that happen because now it's on the internet forever. So, in my opinion, you either leave it to the discretion or the vote. You could go with the vote of the council, but at the same time, then it opens up for a lot of argument because not everybody believes what is vulgar for me is vulgar for you.
Yeah. So my opinion would be that any, whether it's the sole discretion or a vote, I think it's going to cause a lot of dissension and argument. So I would say that we remove that entire bullet. So we also talk in the next bullet of the mayor or city manager's ability to remove things after the live stream.
I think it's the same thing. I think it's the same analysis.
Okay.
Because you have a situation there where, let's put it the other way. Maybe a resident feels like something is inappropriate or vulgar or something, and they call up Craig and they're like, "I want this removed." Now you put somebody in a position of having to make that decision. And I appreciate the conversation about this because I think it's a good conversation once it's adopted to talk about this like this, because when you create policies, sometimes there's offshoots of them that you're not really expecting. And when you look at this and you talk it through, maybe it's not a good decision to remove, and just let it be out there and deal with the remedy, deal with the situations in other ways, whether it's if we adopt an ethics ordinance, it's the ethics policy. If it's said by a council member, if it's defamation, the civil courts have the ways to protect yourself against defamation. So
now, regarding that last bullet is really focusing on it's already been live streamed. Now it's just recorded, right? So I agree, right? Let's just take removal off the table. But to protect the city, now that it's a recording, is there something, if there is vulgarity or obscenity, do we need to put like a disclaimer on that particular video?
That might be it might be good. And I think, okay, let's take for example, somebody runs through here and they go streaking, and and you get a protester in here, you might be able to, because I think everybody would say that's obscene, to censor that part of it, whether it's through blackout or or a graphic thing, things like that. But getting back to that point, it's already happened, it's already out there. If there's something extreme that happens, I think all of us can be reasonable enough to look at it and say, okay, something should be done here to protect the public, if need be.
Okay, so then I would recommend we remove those last two bullets, so that we're not removing live stream or shutting down live stream at any point. Thoughts from
Craig? Your Honor, I'm sorry. Craig, how long have we been live streaming? I'm sorry.
Probably 4 years.
Okay. Has there been an issue? Okay. So my thought is once it's out there, right? There's not a thing we can do about it. Okay? My biggest question in this whole thing is we go down through that third bullet point, and then there are the sub-bullet points underneath that. Who defines things like hate speech or discrimination or inaccuracies or misinformation? Who defines that? And if they do, how do they have the power to do that? Like again, I go back to the fact that once it's out there, and there's nothing we can do about it.
Regina, want to come up and
I understand your argument and respect it. Here's my question. Defamation standards for an elected official are pretty high, aren't they?
Correct.
Even for a normal person, I've checked into it. There has to be some cause. It's hard for a court to say, yeah, she sent lies to you to city council. Did you have protesters in front of your house? No. Did you lose a job? No. Most courts are going to dismiss that. But it seems much more likely to me that if a mayor or a city manager can decide what's inaccurate or defamation without anyone else giving input, it's more likely that those powerful elected officials are going to come after poor little ordinary citizens than we are going to be able to do anything to harm them. So I guess that's my concern about that, you know, letting one person or two people decide what's accurate. As Mr. Cates said, who makes, what are the standards for that? So that's.
sure.
Yeah, I'm really on the fence on this policy issue. What scares me is somebody making a defamatory mark and it getting on Facebook. And with what we have now is saying that the mayor or the city manager may edit that such material out so it's not out in the public. So it's protecting citizens. And I know you say, Regina, you're letting one or two people make that decision, but the city, the citizens made that decision when they elected the mayor. They give him special powers and authorities, you know, and I gotta kind of believe that, you know. I mean, I think what the issue here is people are afraid of who personally has that authority, not who position or what position has that authority. I think people are scared of the character of the mayor and they feel threatened that their voice won't be heard. But, you know, I also feel that that's why we're creating an ethics committee or commission. And if I have it my way, it won't go in the hands of the lawyer. It will go into an independent commission. So, you know, and they can deal with that. If the mayor or the city manager edits something out of a Facebook streaming a live video that shouldn't unlawfully have been edited, then we have reason to put them in front of an ethics committee. You know, we have recourse. We got to trust somebody with authority. If we do not have this policy, we open ourselves up for litigation from citizens for, you know, all kinds of directions.
Well, Jerry, our attorney already said that if we remove both, we're not liable, right? And we can add a disclaimer on it. It's probably a best practice, but
My question is, what's your concern of legal recourse if you don't have the ability to remove content from the internet?
Well, I'm just concerned a citizen could come after the city if we have it on our YouTube.
If you
streaming.
publish defamation on your
publish it on YouTube.
on your YouTube,
a citizen could come at us if we don't take it down, and then who has that editing power at that point?
yeah. I mean, it's the same as having a letter to the editor in a newspaper. The newspaper's not. I mean, and I could get you some information on how on the standard for the person who utters the defamation and the person who publishes the defamation. Maybe I can get you some information on that before, you know, so that you're more comfortable with knowing what the liability of the city is for that. So I understand where you're coming from, but at the same time, I don't think the liability is all there to say, like, hey, the city, because somebody in the audience said something about a city council member, a city council member said something about the audience, and it was posted on the live stream to the YouTube page, that it's that the city is responsible. Now, if that's where people are learning it from, I can get you some information to kind of ease your mind on that.
And I know in this policy as well, it says that, the city of Ferrysburg is not responsible for comments made during meetings, which,
Yeah.
helps us in that case as well. But I guess I'm just concerned, for citizens' reputations and, and legal issues as well, if we don't have editing power, if somebody goes up to the podium and says something discriminatory against somebody, and nobody has the power to edit or take that down, then we're just gonna post it, and then it could defame a citizen, And I know a lot of people think, well, the citizens are smart enough to see through that, but are they? I mean, I see all kinds of crazy things out there that citizens believe.
But the comment was already made during the meeting. The original statement was made verbally at a meeting. If the person was defamed, it was at that time. Not at the time of the publishing of the video. It was at the time the person made the statement. Now, a court could order us to take it down if a person filed a lawsuit for defamation, and then the court would have that authority to say that should be removed. But the original context of it was in person at a meeting. It was said, whether it was said and recorded, it was said. So that creates the cause of action. But
you use a lot of
no,
my
but
concerns.
I'll provide maybe some information, because it's it's new. It's not the original context of the Supreme Court's decision in defamation. When you're talking about written in a newspaper, it's talking about newer technology. So the case law is evolving and stuff like that. And if I feel like the city is at risk at some way, I'll let you know.
Lisa, you had something?
Royce 177 Navajo. I have to agree that, once it's out there, it's out there. Look at the 2020 election. We've been fighting about the big lie for a long time. People say stuff, it's out there. You have to research and you have to do whatever. And if somebody comes in here and they say something bad about somebody, it's the person that is being defamed that needs to go and do that. I don't think we vote you guys into office, but we don't give you carte blanche on what you can take away from when people say. There is a court system that does defamation. Look at Dominion and Smartmatics that are going right now. It'll be interesting to see what happens. Billions of dollars are out there. But once it's out there, it's out there. And they're going to fight. And they're doing it as we speak right now. You can't take it away. And I don't think it's anybody's decision to do that. It is a court. If it goes to that extreme, I don't think anybody, it's right on there. You guys are not responsible. You're responsible for what you say to people. You're not responsible for me, what I say to you guys, or what I say to somebody in the audience. That's me. They go after me. And this is our place to come 3 minutes in the beginning and 3 minutes at the end, and sometimes in the middle, to say how we feel about what's going on. And we should all be able to hold our tongue or do whatever and be civil. And if we're not, we can pay the price, and we should.
Can I say?
Yeah, yeah.
Sure. And I think Jerry is bringing up a valid concern, because you don't want the city to be liable because somebody said something and it's on our YouTube page.
Right.
So I think that's a valid concern. I don't think that you're too far off base. So
but isn't that up to the court to say?
Well, and that's
take that down because it went
right,
to the
is so
point.
long as they don't see the city as hosting something that has a defamatory statement in it, and that's what the concern is.
Or
So
can you put a disclaimer on that video and say
these are not the comments of the city of Ferrysburg.
exactly
Yeah.
if something's in there and it was a kind of a ruckusy
Yeah.
thing, things were said, you don't have to say what it was, because like you said, people have differences of opinion, what's vulgar, what's not, what's this and what's that. That's a slippery slope right there on its own.
Especially when you're
It's-
talking about what is inaccuracies or misinformation.
Well, right,
You know,
because.
I think the one you really have to worry about is the defamation. If you are like somehow continuing a defamatory statement.
Right, well, if,
you know.
if a council member agrees with them or says something to back that up, I can.
But again, that's still said. That was still said. I mean, the actual stating it in person is the actionable action. What Jerry is concerned about is if the citizen says something that is defamatory about a council member or a council member about a citizen, is us hosting that that comment on our live stream YouTube page actionable against the city, even though the city didn't say it. And that's, I think, something that we're taking it one step further, but it's a good thought to think about to make sure that we're looking at this completely and making sure that there's not an actionable claim there.
Because, the city of Ferrysburg's been live streaming for about 4 years, but Andy and I've been doing it for about 10.
Yeah, that's true.
But,
That's
we
true.
had it out there through some pretty crazy stuff, so, and we did it
true.
on our own for years and years and years and years and years. So, this isn't new, and I just think, when people come up, you're responsible for your words, so. And I don't think, as long as the city puts a disclaimer on there that whatever the audience says at public comment or during the meeting is their words, not a reflection of. So.
Your Honor, I just have a couple more questions for the city manager.
Okay, sure.
So I saw several communities do disclaimers like we were talking on the video. I saw communities do it in the speak the disclaimer in the mayor's opening comments, notifying the public that it's being live streamed and that you're live. And then I saw that some do a disclaimer on the door or the entryway to the council chambers to notify visitors that they're being live streamed. Do you feel any of those are necessary?
Was that for the city manager or for me?
For you, sorry.
Okay. I thought you said you had questions for the city manager. Sorry.
Maybe I did. Sorry.
I don't think they're required, but I think it's good to let people know that they're on video. I honestly think when people know they're on video, you might get a little less, that's being recorded and archived. You might get a little less, people saying more than they would if they, when they know it's being broadcast. So I always think letting people fully know what's going on is good.
And then Lisa brought up a good point about her and Sandy videoing it previously. This policy will in no way impact a private citizen from videoing, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And then my last question, on the first page, the following policy shall govern live streaming of public meetings on Facebook Live. Is that all this policy covers? Because we don't stream on Facebook Live.
Yeah, that should. I would change that to live streaming of public meetings on any forum.
Okay.
Or any website. That way, if you do switch to Facebook Live or you switch to some Zoom or anything like that, that would cover everything.
Okay. So, Your Honor, my request would be that we update the City of Ferrysburg policy regarding live stream of meetings to remove the portion of the first sentence on Facebook Live and change that to all streaming services. And we remove bullets 2 and 3 from the number 3, termination of live stream and corrections. I would make a motion for that.
Okay.
Support.
Motion, support, further discussion. Tim, you had something?
I have a question. The live stream and what's put on record or on the for our archived, the public can address later on. That two separate entities. I mean, the live stream, because when we talked about this prior to this, it was to have a uncensored, or to keep for our records, for the city records, that the public can have access to, if they wish, have a full uncensored copy of the video. And so what would be out there would, for the public to see later on the YouTube or whatever, is that where the censorship would be.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, that the way it was proposed and the way it's written, yes. The one available to the public would be the one that the city manager or the mayor would have authority to remove parts of course.
Were to come in here and make a statement, an untrue statement about somebody else, another resident, then that, and that resident says, I want that removed, that would give, and contacted the city manager or the mayor or the chair or whoever, then I think they should have that ability and not have to worry about going through the courts and having the court system jammed up with these things. They're already overworked, and I think that should be available to the public. But I also think that we're not censoring anybody. We shouldn't have to. There's only been a few rare occasions and just a very small amount of individuals that have disrupted this meeting in the past, and it's not really a big deal. I like it as is. And I think that it's not going to hurt the public to if we do censor somebody's swearing or using common vulgarity that the Supreme Court and other courts have ruled as being obscenity or hate crimes. Hate crimes, my understanding is hate crime is saying something bad about a group of people. Like if I said I hate all Irishmen, that would be could be considered a hate crime. And obviously I don't, but you know, that's going on according to, what is it, the community standards. And we're all adults here, but I don't think it would put that we should have that out there in public where people can replay that and they can play it, take snippets of it, and you know, use it to their advantage.
But they could get it from a FOIA,
right?
But so I mean, it can get out. It can get out there. I mean, you're not going to be able to keep it. Based on the policy, you're not going to be able to keep it away out of a citizen's hands if they wanted to get a hold of it.
Right, but they're going to have to work for it.
But I think it sends a horrible message to our community to that we're going to give one person the right to censor like what is said. Like that's insane.
Gina, you have something?
Anyone can say after what this century, and I'm talking about Nazis and Republicans and Democrats and just about anybody, how you can say censorship does not hurt the public. When you have one person deciding that's just not true, we're going to take that out. How does this person prove that it's not true? I mean, you can't have one individual decide that's what happens in totalitarian governments. This is not true. The people are not going to hear this. And that, I think, is a very slippery slope. You've got to have some kind of standards.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Your Honor,
Yes.
here's an idea. Let's not live stream. If people want to know what's going on, they come to the meetings.
Ooh.
Or they read the newspaper.
Ooh. Mm.
I go back to those days, you know, I'm an old guy, sorry. There you go.
I support that.
Yes.
I do
Gary.
have one more question for the city attorney.
Okay.
What if we just do away with this whole policy? Instead of just the 2 bullet points? What if we just don't have a policy at all? Is it needed at this point? And once we get rid of the editing power, what teeth does this policy even have?
Point, not, I mean, it kind of just sets forth where it's going to be streamed at. It just kind of gives notice that this is where it's going to be streamed at, and that there'll be notice given. So, I mean, the policy doesn't have much outside of that.
So if we remove the whole policy, is the city at risk for anything?
Nah,
Okay.
I mean, unless the city council member is making the defamatory statement, then that's where the risk comes in at. But that's a statement that's made during the meeting. It's not about where it's hosted. Now, like I said, I will get some information to make sure you guys are, all of you are satisfied that actually hosting something that has a defamatory statement in it doesn't put the city at risk. And if that is a situation that puts the city at risk, let's craft a policy that deals with that specifically and how that is addressed.
So, Councilmember Sias, would you be more comfortable if I just modified my motion to remove the policy?
Bill made the
Yeah,
support.
I'm good with it.
Okay, so
Remove the
I'll
whole policy.
modify my motion to remove the City of Ferrysburg policy regarding live streaming of meetings, and
Bill,
Support.
you supporting? Okay. Any further discussion?
we do a roll call, Your Honor.
Roll call vote, please.
Mayor Blease,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Donnell,
Yes.
Councilmember Carlson,
Yes.
Councilmember Montgomery,
Yes.
Councilmember Sias,
Yes.
Councilmember Murdoch,
Yes.
Councilmember Cape.
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. No policy. And Brooke's gonna get us some updated information. All right, moving on. 7D, introduction to ordinance 326, ethics ordinance. Greg?
So at the last meeting, the city council reviewed some ordinances from other communities. We took one of the ordinances that was out there and we kind of modified it for the city of Ferrysburg. The first page has the purpose and some definitions on the second page. On the second page on the public servants, you notice that it also includes elected officer. Then we go down to section 32.84, which is prohibited conduct, which is really the standards of conduct that, you know, you don't even want to give the appearance of doing something that is would bring any impropriety to the city. You can't disclose any confidential information, cannot use any city personal property. There's a typo in paragraph C, we'll fix that. If anybody has financial interest, you know, they gotta disclose that. Really, you shouldn't have a financial interest unless, you know, you're having a sealed bids or less than 5% or 1% of hold of the business. Again, 32.85, regarding disclosure of conflicts, what that entails. Going to 3286, the contents. This was 3288 here. We talk about if there's a question that goes to the city attorney for interpretation, whether it's a violation of this ordinance. And then we have down the complaint procedure. We have the draft or complaint form attached to this ordinance that has to be signed and notarized. And then the clerk, once she gets that, or he gets that, it will be referred to the city attorney, and the city attorney reviews that and decides if there is a valid complaint or not. And then it can go to the courts for review, and the city attorney down there on penalty, he can, if it's an employee, he can discipline or terminate the person. And then if there's a violation, it can be referred to the court for a civil infraction of the ordinance.
Your Honor,
Yes.
I'd like to move that we table this introduction until such time as it can be properly vetted by this body. There's the ordinance as written. Most of it is already in effect, already on the books. I only found one line that I could not find in any of the books, or either the city charter or the policy and procedures manual already in effect, and that is 3284 F3, which states any gift valued at $100 or less, which cannot reasonably be presumed to influence the judgment of the public servant. I'd like to see that added to the policy and procedures manual under the about accepting gifts. And also, I'd like to see us adopt the ethics complaint form with the correction of, I believe it's 6 months, is what's on the state law, or commonly used for filing complaints. So we would need to, I would like to, we are nowhere near the point where we should be having an introduction of an ordinance. This needs to be discussed in depth a lot more. Introduction is the second step to adopting the ordinance. And there's also parts in here, I believe, that conflict with our city charter that need to be addressed.
So we talked about this previously. This isn't an introduction. Like
It says introduction of ordinance number 326. The next step is to adopting it.
we discussed it last month, though.
Not this ordinance. This is the first time I've seen this ordinance. Yes, but it's not, we have not had a chance to discuss this ordinance.
That's what tonight is for.
No.
That's
it's
why we
not.
have the city attorney here. What?
Right. Well, that's why it should have been on a work session and not the introduction of the ordinance.
Right, but we talked last week, and you never brought that up when we had that discussion. Do you want to introduce it at our next council meeting, or do you want to have a work stream on it, or a work session?
I stated I wanted to have a work session. At our last meeting, I said I wanted it to be a work session, and I was overridden. So, and this needs to be on a work session where we can go piece by piece through it.
Well, you've validated that, or said that every piece of this is in current literature, so you've already reviewed it.
I'm saying there's other parts that have to be reviewed. The parts that I see as conflicting with the city charter.
What part specifically?
Have you read the city charter?
I've read probably the majority of it. What piece of the city charter are you citing?
I'm talking about the section 4.
Okay, and what does that cover?
That covers the how complaints are handled.
And which part of this do you feel is conflicting to that?
If you read it, you should know what.
Well,
let's.
That's like, Tim. That's like some recess stuff. Like,
No,
I'm. The public wants to know. Okay.
Okay.
So.
Well, are we going? We need to move this into a work session where we can discuss each of these items. It's not ready for an introduction.
The way I kind of agree with Tim, there's a lot of things here that I don't like that we need to discuss. But I don't know why we can't make this an introduction. It's still, we've had a work session. Now let's discuss what's here and let's move forward. I understand where you're coming from, Tim. We need to discuss a lot of this because a lot of it I don't like. So you're right, but
I mean, we have the city attorney here today. I'd just prefer to do it today instead of get charged more for bringing them back in another work session.
Oh, yes. Sure, come on up to the podium.
I'm Joe Lyons at 16857 Virginia Avenue here in lovely Ferrysburg. It's good to be here again. I spent a good part of my day today reviewing this draft. I think if we look a little closer, I would have to agree with Tim that it needs further vetting and a good bit more review by the council in a work session to make sure that the wording and the overall focus of it meets the requirements of the community. I do like the intent and purpose where it says that city officers, employees, and as well as public servants shall maintain the highest standards of personal integrity, truthfulness, honesty, fairness, and carrying out of their public duties. And of course, that means each and every one of us, whether we're council members or commission members, what have you. In any event, I reviewed this further, and I find that it is a MML sample ordinance. It certainly isn't anything that could be reviewed for consideration for the community. It would have to be considerably edited and brought into a document that could be used for our particular community. And one thing I guess I would just personally, I have filed a couple of complaints in the community. Frankly, there's been no response from the city. There's been no response from the council. I'd like to review those things at this point as well, and they should be brought up. But if I could refer you to under 3290 complaint procedure. I've got a great deal of concern with regard to sections D, E, I, D and E, E and F, wherein we say standards of comment. We need a definition of a term like indemnification. There's just too much. Reliance on the city attorney to determine if somebody's at fault or if someone has a complaint, and I guess maybe my biggest concern is that this is just a copy and paste of an ordinance that already exists in the city of Hamtramck, Michigan. I don't know if that's what your intent was, is to take that ordinance and put Ferrysburg on it instead of Hamtramck, but I think that just supports even more my conclusion that what we have in the charter, and I am concerned about the number of people on the council who have not reviewed the charter fully, as a number of you have and as I have, to understand that what's in this ordinance is already in our charter. We don't need another law. We need some interpretation of what's there already, perhaps perhaps we take the items that are in the charter and in the employee handbook, and put those into a separate handbook, if you will. But there's a number. This is just. It takes away, in my opinion, any trust that you can have in your local government and between the people within your own community. And I would sincerely suggest that we take this thing off of the terms of discussion. There's some good things here, and maybe those things need to be rolled into a city policy. And certainly a policy, in my opinion, would be much kinder and a much easier item to work with, as opposed to an ordinance, or another word for an ordinance is a law. We don't need more laws. We need more kindness, truth. Would you agree? Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Right. But
Yes.
if they want to discuss this, then we need to, since nobody wants to table it, at this time, then we're going to discuss this. Most of this is redundant. Like I said, it's already on the books. And I went through it line by line, highlighted the one line that's not in any of our literature, any not already in effect. The part in here about the city attorney reviewing, that's good. I agree with that. But it's also in in section 4, the city council has the ability to address the complaint, given 10 days notice to the person who the complaint is about. That person can hire a lawyer and come to before city council, and then the city council can decide what actions are to be taken. And if it is, and a person can be removed for misconduct in office, correct? But we also have it in the city charter that they can, in section 4, that this body does have the ability to make a decision whether somebody has been is guilty of misconduct, correct?
But does not have the ability to remove a city council member. That's a procedure that goes through the governor's office. Yeah. But I mean, so you say, okay, you committed misconduct. The whole problem with the way things are right now is there's really no teeth in anything. So you have an ethics policy, but there's okay, we publicly say that XYZ committed misconduct. There's no ramifications for that unless you go through the governor's office. And I think that was kind of the intent of this, was to give something that could happen. Because if there's, I mean, if something happens and there's an ethics violation, there's no punishment in any of our documents. All the stuff is outlined and said that this is a violation or you can't do this, but there's no repercussions for it. There's no penalties. So things kind of just sit there because, okay, you find that somebody did something wrong. there's nothing you can do about it unless you go through at the city council level, unless you go through the governor's office to get the person removed. At the lower level, like not lower level, I apologize, the committee level, so the appointed positions, you don't have to go through that process. But this is, I think, designed to be able to say, all right, there's some teeth behind being unethical. And I'm not saying that I agree that it should be the city attorney that makes all these decisions. If that's what the council wants, that's fine. But if you would like an independent committee that does that, that's fine too. I'm not looking to be the person that sits as judge on this if that's not what the council wants. So if you wanted to modify that would work too.
Regina, you had something?
I agree with that to some extent. My concern is not so much what they do to us or what they do to elected officials or appointed officials. It's my concern when I have concern about something ethical. And I'll tell you a little story of what happened when the citizens en masse tried to hold someone when I was on council accountable. And you know what happened? 4 city councilmen just boycotted the meeting. We didn't have a quorum. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. And it was never brought up again. There should have been some recourse for that person to be held accountable when you have a room full of people saying, this person did something unethical, we want some answers. And there wasn't any. So you need to put some teeth in it for sure. And my main concern is a policy does not have the force of law, correct? You can't say, well, we have a policy that you can't lie or you can't, but if it's an ordinance, that is a local law, and I think that's what you need.
Yes.
May I use my device here to look up one of the city ordinances that I'm referencing? Or do you have a copy of it? Okay.
Yes. Rebecca, come on up.
Rebecca Happ, P.O. Box 85, Ferrysburg, 49409. As I'm looking at this tonight, and we have the city attorney that's here also offering the assistance, there is something on the record. The State of Michigan State Ethic Act, Standards of Conduct for Public Officials and Employees Act 196 of 1973 does hold some teeth to it. So that would be where our elected officials could be held accountable without the city creating something more. So this law is already in place with the state, correct?
Yeah, but when we're talking about like the removal, that's what they're asking about, the removal of the city council members. It's at the governor's level,
Correct,
not at the local level.
Correct, but something that already exists that has teeth in it dealing specifically with ethics of elected officials is this act that's currently on the books for the state of Michigan.
Yeah.
Correct? All right. Also back in regards to this ethic ordinance policy that you're looking at tonight, it is directly right out of Hamtramck off MML, because if you read through it, it references the 31st District Court. The 31st District Court is located in Wayne County. Ottawa County is under the 58th District Court. So make sure you're doing your due diligence.
Thank you.
Well, before we do that, let's address the question.
Yeah, well, what Tim's point was, we didn't have an actual work session on it. We discussed it at the last meeting, and it came up to topics for a next work session, but then we decided to just put it on the agenda as a introduction, so that's kind of why we're at that point, I believe. But Brooke's here tonight, so, I mean, Tim made a motion to table it, nobody seconded it, but then Debbie just said something about tabling it too, so we have a couple options out there. If we table it, we can put it on a work session another time, or we can continue in the introduction, talk about it.
I would like to put out there again to table this until we can schedule a work session to discuss it more in depth and get more answers to the questions that we have about this. Because Councilmember Sias does have questions, Councilmember Murdoch, I think everybody had, people have questions. And we give more time for response. And that is actually the proper way to address this issue.
Okay. So Debbie, do you want to support Tim's motion to table it? Okay, table it, okay. Okay. All right. All right, so motion support to table it. There's no discussion on a table, right? So all in favor, say aye to table it.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? One opposed. It's carried to table it. Okay. Moving on.
Your Honor,
Yes.
Craig, is there a way that we can get more examples from other, I know this was from a certain city, and can we get other examples? I know the University of, Michigan State University has examples too, MML has examples, so maybe we can get some from different organizations just from other than MML. Would that be okay? All right, appreciate it.
Okay. All right, let's move on. 7E, discussion, take action if appropriate to adopt a resolution for Spark grant application for Fire Barn Park for the Fire Barn Park Universal Accessible Pickleball Courts Project. Craig?
So at the last meeting, City Council approved submitting 3 Spark grants. So to do that, we need to, City Council needs to adopt a resolution authorizing the submittal of the grant. We have 3 grants here for your consideration today: the Fire Barn Park, William Ferry Park, and Coast Guard Park. The Recreation Commission is recommending or prioritizing the Fire Barn be the first prioritized grant for submittal. And in your packet today, on your desk tonight, was the cost estimate for the improvements at each park. Each grant application needs its own separate resolution, so that therefore there are 3 resolutions for City Council to consider today.
Okay. Anybody want to make a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution for a Spark grant application for the Fire Barn Park for the Fire Barn Park Universal Accessible Pickleball Courts Project.
Motion support. Further discussion?
Your Honor?
Yes.
Looking at the resolution, I think that they just need to add one little one part to it, because it talks about the implementation of the improvements in 3 phases. Perhaps on the third whereas, they should state that this is for phase 2 or phase 3, whatever the phase is that this is doing, just for clarification, so they don't confuse us with any other grants that we applied for.
That okay, Will? You want to do a 1, 2, 3 phase?
This isn't a full phase, is it, Craig?
This will be the second phase.
So this is the entire second phase, encompasses everything in the second phase.
Yes.
And are we gonna get asked why we're doing the second phase and not the first phase?
We have a grant in for the first phase right now at the trust fund.
Okay, well, we can do grants for both, right? Okay. All right, yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, F, discussion, take action if appropriate to adopt a resolution for a Spark grant application for William Ferry Park. For the William Ferry Park waterfront renovation and kayak launch project.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution for a Spark grant application for William Ferry Park for the William Ferry Park waterfront renovation and kayak launch project.
Second.
Motion support. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. G, discussion, take action if appropriate to adopt a resolution for a Spark grant application for Coast Guard Park for the Coast Guard Park picnic and play area restroom building project.
Your Honor, I'll make a motion to adopt a resolution for a Spark grant application for Coast Guard Park for the Coast Guard picnic and play area restroom building project.
Support.
Motion support. Further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried. Okay, moving on. 7H work session 2023 city council goals. Looks like we got a good head start here. What do we got listed? Yes. Oh. Oh, that's part of the consent agenda, Jerry.
It's all part of that?
Yep.
Okay. Never mind then.
Yeah, okay. City council goals. All right, let's see what we got here.
So city council submitted some goals. The city clerk has lumped them together, the similar goals, and those are highlighted on your sheet in your packet. For instance, the number one was city infrastructure, street improvements, drainage, and undergrounds. Another council member indicated something very similar, so we marked those together as we worded it as one goal. And these 1 through 12 are in no particular order. We just numbered them for discussion's sake. And so out of the goals submitted by city council, there's about 12 different topics that would be considered a possible goal for city council. So this time, city council should review these goals, see if they want to eliminate any or add any to the list.
Okay. And I just looked today on our website, it says 2022. There's actually 10 listed goals, but 10 is listed twice. So it looks like we have 11 adopted goals on the website currently, but there's 2 number 10s.
Aye.
Okay.
So once city council whittles this list down or whatever they want to do with it, we'll refine it and review it and give it back to city council, and then they would rank each goal as their number 1, number 2, and so forth goal. And then we would bring that back to city council for consideration.
Your Honor,
Yes.
Craig, just to clarify, these are not in any particular order now.
Correct.
You guys see anything you want to add to the goals? Anything you like? Because Craig's going to compile more list and then we'll narrow it down. But anything else you want him to put in here?
I'll just point out that, it looks like 3 people put the kayak launch in the city. We had this discussion in our last goals conversation. We incorporated that into the ADA universal design, which is one of our current goals for all of our parks to be ADA compliant. We included the kayak launch as a part of that because it would be an ADA kayak launch.
Okay, so are you saying we shouldn't have it as a separate goal, or it's already
That was
2022 goal? which it is, I
That,
think.
that would be my recommendation, is we incorporate that as part of updating our infrastructure to ADA compliance.
Oh, so group it with number 7
Yes.
and add it with City Hall, Parks, DPW, Fire Barn, and Kayak Launch.
Yeah, I
that's a
think the
good idea.
kayak launch should be ADA compliant,
For sure.
so
Yeah, for
I
sure.
don't think we would put one in that's not ADA compliant, so
Right.
I think we
yeah.
can.
Okay. What else you guys think? Tim, you had something?
Yes, number 8, promote Ferrysburg Nature Preserve, promote informing residents of Ferrysburg Nature Preserve and improve access. I went to the Recreation Committee, and I recommended that this be, that they submit a grant to address this issue, and I was told that they were not interested in addressing that issue, that the residents wanted it left as is. So if we were looking to remove something, then I think that would be, since the residents seem to want to leave it as is, we could remove that as one of our goals. What I brought before the Recreation Committee was improvements to it to make it ADA compliant, to improve the paths so people could enjoy it more and get better access to it. And that would have been a lot better grant than the Coast Guard, because it matched all of the goals that they were looking for in the Spark grant.
Yeah, so the Rec Commission did discuss that. We felt that bringing other parks to ADA compliant and updating amenities that more frequently use parks was a better use of our grant application. However, we are working on how we can promote Ferrysburg Nature Preserve, and that includes several signs and directional signs that have been made, or will be made, correct, Craig?
Will be reviewed by
the rec. So we reviewed the initial draft last month, and we'll have another updated one this month. So that is something that's on the Rec Commission's radar that they are actively working on, is promoting that park.
I have to quick excuse myself to the restroom, but you guys carry on.
All right, I'll just. Right now that, by yes.
Were we discussing the review?
Is parking currently available on Chief Street with signage? We're getting signs made that direct people to those parking areas. We talked about parking at the is it lift station, Craig?
We did talk about that.
And it would, to bring in fill and everything else, would be tremendously expensive. Yep.
And there's a lot of parking at the church.
We have signed off, so the signs that we're building are directing people to either, and there are signs at the church that show that we have dedicated parking for Ferrysburg Nature Preserve. So my recommendation would be to remove number 8. The part about, improved access will fall under number 7 with the ADA universal design for parks. We'd remove the promotion part of it and just include the improved access and ADA compliance. We'd incorporate that into number 7, or it is already incorporated into number 7.
By removing those or combining those 3, that would give us 10 goals that we'd look at.
so we could look at the future meeting, what. The next city council meeting is, okay, that's the priority one, yes.
You on track?
Yes.
Okay.
We just combined 9 with 7.
Okay.
Or, excuse me, 8 with 7. So that brought us up to, down to 10 goals.
Okay. All right. Anything else on the city goals? Sounds good. 8, public comments. Kayla in the back. Woo, Tribune, come on, do something. All right, number 9, report, city manager.
No report?
City council members, Debbie. Sweet. Okay. Jerry?
No report. Just wish everybody a happy Christmas, Merry Christmas, and New Year.
All right. Bill?
No report.
All right. Will?
Yeah, Craig, did we decide on a date for the rec commission meeting?
I wanted to talk to you about that after the meeting.
Okay. Will that be announced somewhere?
Yep.
Okay. Rec commission meeting coming up, Nora board meeting coming up. That's all I have on the report. Happy holidays.
Okay. Rich?
No report.
Okay. Tim?
I got a couple questions on the manager's report, CPI. This year, the taxable values are going to increase to 5%. So one of the only few good times where the Headley Amendment actually helps us. CPI is 7.9%. So instead of our taxable value going up 7.9, it's only going up 5%. So we're going to have a lot of residents coming in, and there'll be a lot of questions. So I think the board review is going to be busy this year. And I just wanted some clarification on the proposal 3, where you stated a recount is filed on the results of proposal 3 passing in November. 2 precincts have been selected in Ottawa County, and 1 in Holland and 1 in Ferrysburg. Can you explain what that involves?
Currently, at this time, I've been provided that we meet next week on Thursday, and that further information will be provided as it's presented to the election coordinator at Ottawa County.
And I would like to see the complaint that was filed by Joe Lyons be addressed on the next agenda meeting, or the next council meeting. Get that taken care of in a timely fashion, more timely. Also, I attended the ambulance review committee meeting held on Friday. And a lot of people were concerned with the merger or taking of Trinity taking over Noach, whether there would be an effect on the ambulance service, and we have been assured that there will be no changes, no major changes. They are looking to actually improve the service available to the residents by possibly, if they are able to get the staff, putting on an additional basic life support car, be able to take the load off the advanced life support cars. We are also will be entering into contract talks starting in January. The current contract we have with Noach is scheduled to end next year at December 31st. The committee decided to extend that year if needed to make sure all municipalities need any additional time to review the contract. So I will be
attending the meetings for the next year, and I will give you any updates that happen about that contract. End of report.
Your Honor,
Yes.
can I ask a
Well,
question?
sure.
Tim,
Yes.
does Trinity run the ambulance service now for North Ottawa?
Trinity is the overseer for the hospitals. They're like the parent company. The actual governance of Noach is still by the CEO and the board for Noach. Trinity is not at this time having anything to do with their internal operations, or their basic internal operations.
Talk to moving down that road?
Not at this time.
Okay. Will that cause any conflict or perceived conflict of interest with you being on that board?
No. Nope.
So you don't work for Trinity, correct?
I actually do work for Trinity, yes. I'm Trinity is a parent company for Trinity Health, which is ProMed is a part of that.
See what I'm saying? That could be
Right.
perceived
So
conflict of interest.
Okay, so for public disclosure, I am an employee of ProMed Ambulance, which works for Trinity, but I have no financial interest or stake for personal goal or gains from that employment, and it will not. There is no conflict of interest because of that fact. I will not receive any personal benefit from it.
Perception of conflict.
Right. But according to the Policy and Procedures Manual, as long as I disclose that I am
have you disclosed it?
Yes, I just disclosed it.
When I brought it up.
Right. Well,
that's my issue.
It's been known.
But it hasn't been cleared.
Right.
Right. So that's my concern. Is maybe.
Okay. But and I will. You are correct. I should have. I didn't even think of that. So I will submit the proper paperwork to the city council. But I'm also making a public statement of such.
Okay.
Your Honor,
Yes.
Councilman O'Donnell asked that Joe Lyons' complaint be brought before council at the next meeting. I'm just questioning whether that's the proper way to handle it, or do we already have policy that goes to the city manager and or the city attorney?
That was addressed with the current avenues that we have. We don't have an ethics ordinance or anything like that, so.
So then it would come to city council?
According to the city charter, that's what is to be done. Yes.
Very good.
So what are we doing at the city? Just for my clarification, what happens when it gets brought to us?
Complaint.
Okay. Okay.
Okay, the only thing I have, Economic Development Task Force, going to meet this Wednesday, December 7th, 6 p.m. We're working on that report that's going to come to council. And then, Friday, December 9th is the holiday dinner. And then, like Debbie said, Saturday, December 10th is the Carol Sing. That's all I have.
Your Honor,
Yes. Bill?
has the Economic Development Task Force set a sunset date yet? I mean, a task force by nature is temporary.
Yeah, we're trying to do it end of the year, but it looks like maybe the Brownfield Committee might incorporate some of the economic development. Is that what the latest was, Craig?
In the plan, that's a recommendation from that task force, is to incorporate the brownfield and task force together. The right plan right now is for the task force is to finalize their visionary plan at draft at the Wednesday meeting. If they finalize it and approve it, they'll make a recommendation to city council to accept the plan at the next meeting.
Thank you.
And then we vote separately to move those tasks to the Brownfield Authority, correct?
That would be something that would come up for discussion at a later time. Yep.
Yep, that's all I have. Move to adjourn.
I don't know, I'm asking. Yes, we do. I thought we only had one meeting. I thought so too, but they didn't say anything. Yeah, I guess, yeah.
That's
I wasn't aware. Yeah, that's why I told everybody. Good dinner. I could see them over.
cool. It makes no sense.
Going to that chamber gig on Thursday?
Tim.
Sports stuff.
Especially not without a recommendation from the Brownfield.
Oh, Friday? Yeah. But you know, you just send.
Can't just give them work.
Today is fall.
I asked for a recess, because I need.
Oh, you're gonna, why?
So follow me out. Okay, well, I can just.
I couldn't hold it.
You know I'm missing.
So just, if you wanna go ahead with it, go ahead, but I'm warning you right now. Cool. It will not be pretty for you. I just tell you what I tell you, Tim.
But I did last year.
Or it won't be pretty.
Because I paid. I had a complaint filed against me.
I'm gonna file a complaint against you for starting your child safety city and using city letterhead to do it. That's impeachable. You let people to the impression that that was
Yeah,
the city's
let me
bad
know, because if I have to pay it and then turn it in, I can do that too.
You use letterhead from the city.
Oh, man.
You wanna start complaining? Let's start complaining.